Welcome to the Be Mindful podcast. I am your host, women's mindset and manifestation coach, Raechelle Torio. If you are interested in manifestation, personal development, or spirituality, you have came to the right place. This podcast was created with the intention to help you become mindfully aware of how you think, what you speak, and what you believe, because who you are from within is what you will attract from the out. Let's begin. Hi there, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Be Mindful podcast. On today's episode, we are going to be focusing on how you could start leaning into the uncertainty of the future, the unknown. I know that each of us have definitely had many moments where we have questioned the future, wondering what's going to happen, questioning how many more years we have left on this earth, and curious to know if we're going to achieve the goals that we desire. And this can be a really scary place to be in. Our mind is so powerful, and so I want to be able to provide you with some tips today on how you can lean into the trust and know that even though the future is unknown, we don't know what's going to happen, at least we have some actual tools that we can lean into so that we could start building that trust and knowing that whatever does happen, it's going to be okay. It's going to work out. The first tip I want to give you today is to control what you can and let go of the things that you cannot. And I recommend to create a list of this. Get out a piece of paper. On one side, write down what you can control, and on the other side, write down what you can't. That way you can really see what you are trying to control, but you know for a fact you can't. And because you can't, you can choose to let go of that stress, knowing that you can accept what is and you could just continue moving forward and taking action towards things that you can control. And I know that sometimes we can get stuck in our head and really want to control the process of our success, for example, or control the speed of something that we literally have no control over. For example, a big goal that my husband and I have is buying a home. And there are definitely many steps that you need to take in order for this to happen. And because there are many steps, you clearly cannot force that or rush that. And when you force and you rush, the result ends up not becoming exactly what you want. And you create this stress within your mind that things aren't happening or it's not happening as fast as you want it to. And as many people have told us, buying a home can be very stressful because of those amount of steps. So if me and my husband are taking the proper steps to get a home, then why do we need to stress about it? Why do we need to stress about getting a home right now at this very second? I fully 100% believe that the stars are going to align and the home that we want is going to fall right into our laps. We definitely have our moments where we're like, why can't we just get one right now? Why can't we find one at the right price point? Why can't we find one that's close to home and has a specific amount of bedrooms, X, Y, and Z? But we have a choice to believe that no matter what, as long as we are taking those steps, then we could trust that it's going to work out. And that is the perspective that you can have when it comes to anything that you're working towards. Whatever it is that you're trying to control right now, ask yourself why. And ask yourself if you're creating a lot of stress, because that is stress that you do not need. Leaning into the trust is having emotional flexibility, knowing that you could pivot out of that stress, out of that anxiety whenever you need to. This takes practice. It is a skill that you will gain over time, but that is the only way you're really going to shift your mindset and train your mind to not lean into the worry and lean into that trust. Another tip I want to give you is to embrace change. Transformation can be kind of scary at times. It's exciting, but scary because you're also losing a part of you. You're losing your old identity. And in order for you to transform into the person that you want to become and step into that next level, you have to let go of that old version of you. Not that there was anything wrong with the old version of you, but you have grown out of them. And so when you are in that mix of transformation, it could be a bit stressful because you're so used to showing up as your old self. But you know that you're no longer that person. You know that the habits and the actions and the way that you were thinking isn't going to benefit you to move towards the person you want to become. And not even just transformation, but embracing change overall. If change happens in your life, again, the same thing. Accept what is. Let go of the things that you can't control and see how you can be here right now in the present moment and accept what this change is. And if you're in the middle of your transformation, allow those emotions to come up. Feel what you need to feel and don't do it alone. If you are feeling alone and you're struggling, reach out to family and friends, reach out to people that you love and you trust. Or you can reach out to a therapist or you can work with a coach depending on your needs. I recently was reminded to connect with your community, connect with the ones that love you, because sometimes when you connect with that person, they just have the right words to say that kind of trigger something in your brain that help you get out of that funk and look at things from a different perspective. We only know what we only know, and sometimes we get stuck in our own perspective, and it's nice to hear advice from other people, especially ones that we trust. Another way that you can lean into this uncertainty, trust the future, trust the unknown. Also, I know I have repeated the word trust many times, but I want to make it clear to you that you can lean in and trust. This next tip is a reminder that it's okay to mess up. And it's okay to not know everything. I smile as I talk about this and kind of want to laugh because it's so true that when you mess up, it's you showing yourself that, hey, you're trying. I posted something recently on my TikTok where I talked about how you just can't ever fail if you keep showing up for yourself. And if you keep trying, then you'll never fail. You have to keep going. Most of the clients I've worked with are entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs. And the one thing that holds them back is really their mindset. And the one thing that I always see them struggle with, which I also struggle with sometimes, is having imposter syndrome. We tend to think that we're not capable of doing things because we're not the expert yet, or we compare ourselves to other people who are far advanced compared to us. When in reality, those who are experts were not experts at first. It took them maybe even years to become an expert. So as you're going on throughout life and you find yourself messing up, not knowing what you're doing, I want you to know that that is every single one of us. I want to normalize this because I feel like at a very young age, many of us are told to focus on the future, to have a 10-year plan, to have a 5-year plan. Now, don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong with planning, but I want to use the pandemic as an example. No one planned for that. No one knew how to respond to that. It affected each and every one of us, and we were lost for words. We had no idea what was going to happen, and it was a really scary and emotional time. So this is just another reminder to take it day by day, and that it's totally okay to plan for the future, but be okay with it not turning out as exactly as you want it to be. Continue to mess up, continue to fail, because the more you do that, the closer you will get to the things that you want, and you will be guided, you will be led into the direction that you're meant to be. Because if you don't try, you'll never know, and you'll never be able to mess up and fail over and over again. So how will you know if it's even possible for you if you don't try? So failing a million times means you're trying. If you're having anxiety about the future, and let's say you're having this right now, I'm going to give you some steps that you could take so you can try your best to relieve some of that stress. I promise you that the more you practice this, you are training yourself and your mind to pivot. You are learning how to shift your mindset and build a stronger mindset because you are going from scarcity, doubt, anxiety, and into a higher emotion. I'm not saying that this is going to be easy, and I'm not saying that you could pivot easily every single time, but at least you have a framework. At least you have something to start with. And as I always say, if this does not work for you, that's totally okay. Take what resonates with you and work with that. Anything that I share with you on this podcast, it doesn't mean it's going to work for you because every single person is different, but I will always share with you the tips that I have provided my clients and the tips that have really helped me really build a stronger mindset. So if you are stuck in that moment where you are questioning the future and you are starting to worry, I want you to call yourself out. Awareness is always the first step. It's first acknowledging how you're responding, how you're reacting, and how you're feeling. As you become aware of this, talk to yourself out loud if you need to. Go in a room if you need to, if you don't want anyone to hear you. But really talk to yourself and say, hey, you're freaking out right now. You're worrying right now. But why? Why are you doing this to yourself? You are supported. So what you're doing is you're telling yourself that I got you. And it's time that we pivot out of this scarcity place. And this is where affirmations become very powerful. But I want you to create affirmations that resonate with you, that are actually going to make a difference with how you're feeling in that moment. A recommendation that I've given many of my clients is to actually record their affirmations. Record affirmations that speak to them. So you record yourself saying, I am strong, I am capable, I am okay with not knowing what is coming. I am okay with being unaware of the future. The future is unknown and it is okay to be excited for what's to come. These are just examples of affirmations that you can create. But imagine hearing you speak to yourself and saying these affirmations. So in that recording, you could talk to yourself. You can even start it off saying, hey, I know you're freaking out right now, but this is your reminder that worrying is a choice. But let's work through this anxiety. Let's get ourselves out of it and let's pivot into a higher emotion, a higher thought that's going to allow us to let go of this worrying. And then you can begin off of those affirmations, or you can have a little self-talk with yourself, not even providing affirmations, but reminding yourself how you want to feel and what you can focus on. This is a great way to learn how to pivot out of those negative emotions. I really think this activity is so powerful because you're listening to a recording from yourself that you created. And there's so much power in that. No one else is going to get you out of that bubble. Yes, we can go to our friends, our family, and our community to ask for help, like I was mentioning earlier. But at the end of the day, it's your choice. It's your choice to choose to worry and live in that type of anxiety. So it's a great reminder to remember that every day you do have a choice. And I understand that there are times in our lives that it can be really difficult to have a positive mindset, to really be there for ourselves. But do your best to just show up for yourself as much as possible. Try your best to lean into positivity and lean into trusting, that word trust again, lean into trusting that everything is going to be okay. And the last tip I want to share with you that I think will be a great impact is taking time to be still and be present and focus on your breathing. I've said this so many times in many other episodes, but our mind is constantly going. The only time a lot of us get rest is when we are sleeping. So giving yourself time to be present and focus on your breathing, it's actually a benefit to your overall health. We need oxygen. And when you take those deep breaths in and out, you are providing your brain a lot more oxygen. And being present and still in that moment just helps you calm the brain down. But as I always say, this takes practice. Don't be hard on yourself. Give yourself some grace. I remember when I started my journey to building a strong mindset, being more positive, it took time. And I remember there were days where I felt like I was on top of the world and that I was changing my life and that I was strong and I wasn't going to allow negativity to affect me. But then I realized I was human and that there are going to be negative emotions that arise for me and that it's my responsibility to learn how to navigate through those. And also my responsibility to go through those emotions and just tackle it one day at a time. I will always be here to remind you that you are not perfect. You are perfectly imperfect and that we are humans. So stop being so hard on yourself and allow life to just happen. Have fun, be present, and just try your best to enjoy this life and be excited for the future because you can choose to believe that miracles can happen to you anytime, anywhere, any day. And those moments where it feels like nothing's working out and you choose to instead trust that it's going to, you start to see miracles happen in your life. I've definitely seen miracles pop into my life many times, especially in those moments where I chose to let go of that worry. That is all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please like, share, comment, leave a review. And if you have suggestions on topics you want me to talk about, please message me on Instagram, message me on TikTok, comment on one of the reviews. I want to connect with you. I want to share what you're asking for. And as always, don't forget to be mindful because who you are from within will only attract from the out. See you in the next episode.